Good morning, class 8. Let's start our new poem, The Solitary Reaper, from New Oxford English book class 8. The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth. Let's know about the poet. William Wordsworth was one of the greatest nature poets that ever lived. He has developed his own immensely valuable theories concerning poetry. He had a poetic imagination, and his observations from nature were always accurate and first-hand. He is known as a great lover and preacher of nature and impresses us by the imaginative and philosophical quality of his thoughts. This is the reason why he possesses a unique style. His work shows his lifelong love for natural beauty, which gives him the title of poet of nature. Before reciting the poem, let us have an overview of the poem. The poem is a short lyrical ballad composed of 32 lines and divided into 4 stanzas. Now, what does ballad mean? In simple words, ballad is a poem that tells a story, usually but not always, in 4-line stanzas. The poem entitled The Solitary Reaper relates to an incident which deeply inspired the poet when he was walking along through the barren hills of Scotland. He was fascinated by the sweet voice of a Scottish girl tending to her crops, singing a song in her native language. Now let's recite the poem. The first stanza is, "Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself, stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling near was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the furthest Hebrides. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old, unhappy, far-off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humble lay, familiar matter of today? Some natural sorrow, loss or pain that has been and may be again. Whatever the theme the maiden sang, and if her song could no ending, I saw her singing at her work, and over the sickle bending, I listened motionless and still. And as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more." Let's do the words meaning of the poem. Mostly the meanings are given in the glossary in your book on page number 30, but some of the meanings I have written for you. Number 1, solitary means single, alone or only. Reaper, a person or machine that harvests a crop. Vale, a valley. Near, near. Furthest, very far. Familiar, well known. Maiden, a girl. Over. Motionless, without moving. Now we will do question and answers. So question number 1 is, by the use of certain words in the first verse, the poet conveys a sense of solitude. Which are these words? The certain words which conveys a sense of solitude in the first verse are single in the fields, solitary, by herself, alone, and melancholy. Question number 2. Who is the poet addressing when he says, stop here or gently pass? The poet is addressing someone passing by the field in which the reaper is at work. Question number 3. What does the poet imagine the reaper's song is about? The poet imagines that the reaper's song is about unhappiness and sadness? Question number 4. Why do you think the nightingale's song is described as welcome and the cuckoo's song as thrilling? The nightingale's song is described as welcome because it tells travelers of rest and shade ahead, whereas the cuckoo's song as thrilling tells us that winter is over and spring is ahead. Question number 5. How do we know that the reaper's song is not a joyous one? Which words in the poem tell us this? We know that the reaper's song is not a joyous one from the words melancholy, plaintive, old, unhappy, far off things, battles long ago, natural sorrow and pain. Question number 6. How do you know that the reaper's song had a lasting effect on the poet? We know that the reaper's song had a lasting effect on the poet because the poet can still hear the music in his heart. Now we will do the summary. This poem is written by William Wordsworth, one of the greatest poets of nature. He had a great poetic imagination. In this poem, The Solitary Reaper, the poet describes a highland lass who is harvesting the crops in the field and singing to herself. The poet says that the valley is overflowing with a beautiful, sad song. The poet finds the song of the lady more welcoming than the nightingale's song and more thrilling than the cuckoo's. He speculates that the song might be about old, far-off things, battles long ago, or matters of today. The poet tells the passers-by to pass gently, so they do not disturb the lady as he was enjoying her song. And as he travelled up the hill, he carried her song with him in his heart, long after he could hear it no more. Now I have homework for you, which are sentences. You have to make sentences. I have given you 5 sentences as a model ones, and then you have to make your own later. I have selected the pair of word first, that is advice and advice. The first advice, advice, which is a noun. So the sentence we make, my mother always gives me a good piece of advice. It is always better to write this ice, because it's noun. So it's a clue that this word advice is referred as a noun, and it is always, if you use it by the end of the sentence, it is always correct. Advice, advice, we take it, it's a verb, and if you write it right after the subject, it is always correct. The teacher advised the students to work hard. The teacher is a subject, and when you write it right after that, of course, it is a verb. Reaper, the reaper was hired for harvesting. Profound, the new plan has profound security implications. Music, the whole crowd was excited for the music class. Use these words and make your own sentences. Write down these sentences, the given answers and summary in your copies, and revise them. Thank you so much. Stay home, stay healthy.